Welcome to another episode of Political Echoes on Pendulum TV. It's always a pleasure to be here on the show. My name is David Olaiwola. Welcome to Political Echoes. Welcome back from that short break. This is Political Echoes once again. Political Echoes is a fortnight political talk show that's set to discuss issues and topics making rounds in the Nigerian political space and bringing to the spotlight sensitive issues that call for address in the political milieu and how people can be sensitized, make meanings, and probably draw their conclusions from these burning issues at hand. These issues concern everyone, hence the need to discuss them. In the same vein, the topic for today's discussion is the effects of religion and ethnicity on Nigeria's politics. On the show today, I have a very special guest with me. He is a seasoned academia of many decades and is currently an associate professor at Bowen University in Osun State. He is widely published both locally and internationally, and is an associate fellow and fellow of many notable organizations. He is a strong political enthusiast. Welcome with me, Dr. Johnson Olushola Olaoshebikon.
Thank you so much, presenter, for the opportunity to be on board with you on this program. And our distinguished viewers at home, I welcome you on board as well. Thank you.
It's our pleasure, sir. So straight to today's discourse. Nigeria is a democratic and heterogeneous state with diverse religious and ethnic groups. This especially informs why Nigeria is a religiously polarized state. With Nigeria's democracy, there is always the need to uphold the principle of the federal character, such that there will be equal representation for every ethnic group and religious institution in the country. What we can't ascertain for sure is if in Nigeria we have gotten it right so far. So, to my guests, from available data, we can see that ethnicity has played a major role. It has informed the voting patterns of many Nigerians so far in the past. For some years now, many presidential candidates always get the highest votes from their region of origin. For instance, in the 2015 presidential election, we saw former President Goodluck Jonathan contest majorly against President Buhari. Goodluck Jonathan had the highest votes from the South-South region, while President Buhari had the highest votes from the Northwest region. So this means, and even in the 2019 elections, the same thing panned out between former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and our current President Muhammadu Buhari, where they both had the highest votes from their regions of origin. So, do you think that Nigerians vote on the basis of their religious and ethnic affinities, or rather than voting for competent candidates?
Thank you so much, presenter. Viewers at home, you're welcome on board again. Your question is critically topical, but I will choose to look at it from another perspective. A little bit of addendum to your submission was the case of June 12, 1993 election. That was one experience of Nigerians in terms of their political structure, in where Nigeria decided not to go on the basis of religion and tribal sentiment. As at that time, in that election, Latem Kabila, who contested with Bashir Tofa, actually defeated Bashir Tofa in his own area. But to now address your question, specifically ethnicity dimension in our voting, we will say that is normal, with due respect. And one of the reasons is that you expect people to want to show solidarity and support for using a language their own. Get the point? Now, we normally say that Nigeria is still gradually evolving politically. By the time we get to that right matured mind in terms of our political practices, we'll start voting based on competence, based on conviction, based on the fact that you know this is the right person for this position, they will jettison sentiment of tribal affiliations and what's not like that. So, with due respect to you, for now, there is nothing we could do about it. It will still continue to play out. But gradually, you will discover that even at the political terrain, people are trying to look now outside tribal and cultural sentiment and stereotypes in just voting for candidates.
So do you think regarding the upcoming election,
Yes,
this particular episode we just painted out is playing out in the political space, in the sense that what has been the effects of these ethnic and religious affiliations on Nigeria's democracy,
Yes.
and what is the way forward?
You mentioned something on the federal character concept. The federal character concept is predicated on the need to give everybody equal opportunity, so to say, fair representation, another part, and possibly not being marginalized in the scheme of things. So that has been enshrined in our constitution. But the one we are talking about here now doesn't have any constitutional backing. It is just our own kind of conjecture. Now we feel using that we'll be able to protect our interests while at the same time ensure that we are not just sidetracked in the scheme of things. So if I'm going to address the issue, whether we like it or not, for now, it will keep on playing out. But there will always be some sort of balancing. I don't want to be too specific, but you will notice that where we have some of the flag bearers now from the two major political parties, and they are shopping for their running mate, they are trying to ensure what I will call political equation balancing. That's number one. Point number two, the strongholds where they feel they'll be able to get enough vote as to be able to get the position they are justing for. And ultimately, you will now see that whether we like it or not, like I said before, it is to also see that in my own government, I have room for all of you. And unfortunately, we cannot say it is not tenable. The sincere truth is that you said it before, Nigeria is a multilingual, multi-ethnic, multi-tribal, multi-religious, basically an heterogeneous community. And everybody must be given the opportunity to a sense of belonging.
So in that light, I would want us to look at the just concluded primary elections of political parties across Nigeria.
Yeah.
And we noticed that immediately the primary elections were over and parties submitted their candidates.
Yeah.
What filled the air was picking running mates.
Yeah.
And one of the major things that people were saying about picking their running mates was that, oh, it must be from this tribe, it must be of this religion, it must be of this or that. Now, do you think that the political class is just unnecessarily clouded with trivial issues of religion and ethnicity rather than getting competent candidates?
Thank you for bringing up the issue of running mate vis-a-vis the recently concluded party primaries across our political parties. This is an issue that I want to be extremely careful in speaking to. First and foremost, let me correct this misgiving. I was listening to a discussion on a particular notable radio station not too long ago, and that person was saying that when we talk about the deputy, the running mate, etc., that is just like a spare tire, that it doesn't matter, etc. And I said, I beg to disagree. It's extremely wrong. Do you know the sincere truth? When you talk about the running mate to the person aspiring for the position of the president of a country, that is a second president de facto. How do I mean? In case Mr. President is not there, that is the person that occupies that position. So you are so right in saying that first and foremost, we should establish, is this person a competent person, you understand, to occupy that position in a situation whereby Mr. President is not chance to be around. That's point number one. Now, point number two is now the person's attitudinal disposition, him or herself. I'm now being gender friendly, whether a male or a female. Basically, the person must have everything that it takes in terms of mental capability, the physical composure, the ability to carry everybody around, irrespective of their tribal affiliation, when the person who's supposed to be in the office is not there. So the sincere truth is that it's not a position that we should trivialize, and that's why the burning discussion about it, that's why it has come to the front burner. But the other part of it is this: whether we like it or not, we have some groupings in the country that have been coming with the notion that it should be our time now. That over the years we've not been given the opportunity to be there. If for one reason or the other it's still not yet their time, you are finding a way to placate them, to still try to tell them that don't worry, your time will still come. But in the meantime, for you to know that we are serious and not that we are actually sweeping you under the carpet, could you have this also? Let this person come from your side, and that is what is responsible for the political calculation and the maneuvering going on. There's still some other current dimension though that we can mention. You understand now? But when the time comes, we will speak to that. But for now, that's actually what is playing out.
That's a very interesting one, I must say.
It is.
If look at it this way, if you decide to ignore ethno-religious issues, if you decide to put aside all these issues of, oh, you are from this tribe, you are from that religion, and all of that, do you think that even if, for instance, I'll come from the APC, that's the Tinubu is the candidate for APC.
Yeah.
He's the flag bearer, yes. If let's assume he has a Muslim ticket, that is a Muslim running mate, do you think we can strike a balance with other elective positions, in the sense that if we have a Muslim president and a Muslim vice president, then having a Christian Senate president and vice president will suffice to balance the equation of having all religions or all ethnicities represented at the federal level?
Should I surprise you first and foremost, as well as our viewers as well?
Yes.
When I heard of this topic of our discussion, I racked my brain seriously, and I came up with one inference. And incidentally, the inference is coming from the United States of America. With every sense of humility, I will say that it's not that I stand to be corrected, because I know that's actually what played out. Now, what informed Joe Biden picking Kamala Harris as his running mate in the last election in the US? You see, the record we are setting straight there is that it's not peculiar to Nigeria. That certain factor will always come up when it comes to having certain positions, political positions, who are to occupy. Remember that at that time in the US, there was this burning issue of black matter. And one way or the other, you need to position yourself in such a manner as to let these people know that you are on their side. So why don't I consider a running mate that will have a kind of background, that is very close to their own? And so we saw Kamala Harris, emerging as the vice president of the United States of America. Now, you also notice the side of gender balance in there, in the political terrain, something that's been strange, to US politics, that is more than a century old. So you're not talking about our own. Now, to now answer your question, I'm not going to speak for Asiwaju Bola Tinubu or his party, but let's address the issue academically. You raise a critical point. Is this strange to Nigerian politics? The answer is no. When you talk about people of the same religion flagging a particular party's ticket, Leighton Kabiola and King Gibe, they did that in the June 12, 1993 election, and people decided and deliberately put religious sentiment aside to go for them. But a note of warning, the political situation at that time is not what we have on ground now. You get your point? As at that time, people were basically concerned about let the military go. Head or tail. Now, among all these candidates, who is the one that will feel is acceptable? This one. Whether it's Muslim, it doesn't matter. Let's go for them. But as at now, it is a different ball game entirely. And I won't lie to you, Nigerian politicians actually normally do that work very well. Sometimes it goes beyond the juxtaposing in terms of the political structure that you are giving. Muslim president and vice president, let the Senate be Christian, let the Speaker of House of Rep be also Christian. Sometimes it goes beyond that. But then let's actually speak the truth to ourselves. You underline a critical indices early on, and that critical index is supposed to be competence. It's supposed to be the person with the articulate composure to actually deliver, putting religious sentiment aside. When we talk about religion, what is actually about it? Permit me to just clarify. Because religious matter, if it's not all that well managed in Nigeria, it could create problem beyond what you could manage. Now, religion basically, with every sense of humility, has to do with mass attempts in terms of practices, in terms of beliefs, in terms of conceptions and what's not that you feel will make you become acceptable to the divine, the creator. And the degree of the veracity or authenticity is a function of the revelation towards what you are claiming to believe in. And that is why ultimately we need to realize something. Religion should be personal to the individual. Now, that is where the concept of secularism comes up. We should know this one is in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Nigeria is a secular state. That means a country where we don't have a de facto state religion. Many people normally misunderstand it to mean that it means you don't believe in God. No! What it actually means is that you are free to believe in your own God, in your own way. But as a nation, religion will not be the pedestal on which we will be judging who should be what, who should do what. And that's why we be neutral when it comes to religious matter. But you will discover in most cases we've not been. We've not been. Now, mostly when we are talking about religion, we focus on Muslim, we focus on the Christians. What about the traditional religious worshippers? And they are in thousands in their own case. What if they wake up one morning and say, enough is enough, we don't want to take it again? So Mr. President is already, let's say, a Christian, Mr. Vice President is a Muslim, Senate President, who should it be? The Speaker of House of Rep. Now, composition in the National Assembly, things will get out of hand. So let Nigeria actually come up with this understanding that, number one, our country is a secular state. Your religion is personal to you. Look at Asiwaju Tinubu. The wife is a deaconess. Late former governor of Oyo State, late Ajimobi, the wife happened to be a Christian. I know of another governor that happened to be a Muslim, but the wife is even a pastor. You understand? Not just a Christian, but this time around a pastor. You understand? If their family could still be intact, now why as a nation can we not, put religion aside and just work for our common good in terms of competence of individuals, ability to deliver the good? Get a point? That is what we should.
So if we decide to say that, okay, since Nigeria is a secular state and we should focus on competence rather than all these affinities, are you saying that the ideal democracy we should have in Nigeria is one that doesn't bring in the discourse of religion but just competence of the individuals?
With due respect to you, let me add sentiment of religion.
Okay.
Yeah, I would prefer that word, sentiment of religion. Don't be sentimental. You get a point now? The Constitution doesn't want to know this is your religion. Do you get the point? So why don't we respect the Constitution in terms of what it has availed us, in what we need to be doing, and the way we need to relate with ourselves? I can't get to the court of law now, and you have committed a particular offense, and the court of law will not say, because you are a Christian, the Constitution is giving you this leeway. No! And that is the maturity we should all aspire to. You get a point now? Developed countries like US, like UK, they have done that, but I must warn. It's not that I'm saying we should follow their own, because they have taken their own to the extent of this liberalist ideology that to me everything goes. That is also risky. Many people said that eternal vigilance is the cost of our freedom, that we have given ourselves. What that simply means is that human being cannot manage absolute freedom. So religion actually helps us to curb our excesses, to moderate, to regulate, to actually sort of pattern ourselves in such a manner that we know that there is someone who will give report back to. And by and large, it's been working. So we are not relegated. In fact, if I'm going to tell you the truth is that if you are actually an adherent of your religion sincerely, Nigeria should not be having any position at all in corruption index globally. You understand? How come nations where they don't carry religion on their head, how come when it comes to corruption index globally, they are nowhere to be found there? But for us, at the point in time, I think the statistics said Nigerians are the most religious set of people on earth. And I used to tell my students, unfortunately, the most religious set of people, and by and large, the most ungodly set of people, which is paradoxical. It's paradoxical. It ought not to be. Let our religious practices be the mechanisms that has transformed us inwardly, that now brings out the best of us, so that you treat human beings as human beings with dignity, with respect. You know what is coming to my mind on this. You remember some nasty experiences that played out in some part of the country not too long ago on religious what have you. What account will you give to your God? You are fighting on behalf of God and you are destroying life that God created. That's not an excuse. So we need to speak the truth to ourselves. You get a point? And then it comes to the political night, we have to do the same thing. When you are ruling for the common good, irrespective of their religious affiliation.
So it's been a very interesting session with my guests in the studio, and from what we have seen, religion in Nigeria is meant to be a personal endeavor, not something that should be sent. We shouldn't use our sentiments to cloud our political atmosphere. We should rather use religion as a tool to transform our personal lives and make society a better place to be. We'll go on this short break and we'll be right back. Thank you. Welcome back from that short break. In case you are just joining us, this is Political Echoes on Pendulum TV, and I still have my guest in the studio, Dr. Johnson Olaosebukan. It's been a wonderful discussion with you, sir. Thank you
so much, presenter,
engaging us. So now I'll ask you this. It was in the news recently that some religious institutions were telling their members that no PVC, no entrance to the religious venue. And also recently, a group was appealing to the candidates of APC to consider the executive secretary of a particular religious organization as its running mate. Basically, what is the role of religious institutions in dousing the tension that religion and ethnicity might create in the political atmosphere?
Thank you so much, moderator. Basically, let us appeal to our religious groups and associations to play the role that their religion actually is encouraging them to be playing. How do I mean? They're supposed to be the conscience of the society. They're supposed to be the body lifting up the nation to the divine himself. That means God Almighty. And they're supposed to limit their interference in the political space. I'm not saying that they are not part of the society, but let them be part of the society as individuals. When they want to use their political power or strength, let them use it in such a way as to properly conscientize the society on what should be the guidelines for their voting. I'm sorry to tell you this. You know that the issue of money for voting is still with us. They say in Yoruba language, Bowoko Sebe or Diboko Sebe, something like that. It is our religious groups that are supposed to be speaking against something like that. Now, the aspect of PVC, fine, is good, but it's also to create a kind of interesting what have you on the social media. That's why you hear someone saying, without PVC, you can't come into our church. Stay in your church, then I will be worshiping my God. But fine, let Nigerians be told in clear terms, please, everybody, come on board in the political space. Don't be apolitical, be involved. And again, the best way for you to do this is when you have your voters card and you have the opportunity to exercise your franchise when the election comes.
Okay, another issue that comes to mind in this case is the underrepresentation of the female gender and even the youth. Going through the list of presidential aspirants or candidates for the upcoming 2023 elections, there seems to be no female in the presidential as one of these presidential candidates. Don't you think that there is a marginalization or underrepresentation of the females and even the youth? And if this is the case, what is the way forward?
I brought up the example of the United States of America some time ago.
Yes.
More than a century old in the practice of democracy, and just not too long ago, they had the first female as vice president. I stand to be corrected. You get a point. So, like we warned, let us put sentiment aside. I'm not saying that we don't have right candidates among our female folks, but some of the issues playing out are some of these undercurrents that we are talking about. You will not believe it, that we still have some religious adherents who feel that women are not meant for some positions. And whether you like it or not, that is what they believe in. So we have to sort of debrief them of that kind of wrong notion. So gradually, I know the right candidates among the women. We also we have some states where women have been the deputy governor. Remember there was a time we even had the Speaker of House of Rep who happened to be a female. So let the sensitization continue. Then when you talk about the youth, it's the same thing. Now, competence is not a nomenclature for a name or a tribe or a group. When you are competent, you are what? You are competent. But when people are already blinded by some other stereotypes, it's not your competence they will be looking at. It's some other parochial sentiments that they will be using to judge you. And that is what is responsible for what you're talking about. You get the point now? So let's have our mind so clear, so clean. Use the appropriate benchmark to evaluate individuals and not some other untoward concept. Then, all those issues will then be well resolved. You get the point now?
Thank you very much for your response.
Thank you.
And there is always more to talk about, but time constraint is ever a factor that allows us to discuss more. Special thanks to my guests, Dr. Johnson Dobishola Olashibikon, for honoring our invitation. And we hope to see you around very soon to discuss more on these analytical issues.
Thank you so much.
Fellow Nigerians, it is our right, it is your right to have a say in the political process of our dear country. It is your vote is your right and your only legitimate voice that can be heard in the political space. Ensure that you are politically aware, ensure that you participate in politics, and if you haven't gotten your PVC, that's a permanent voters card, ensure that you get it before the month runs out, because you have a very limited time to do that. Many thanks to you for joining us on today's episode of Political Echoes on Pendulum TV. Till I come your way in the next 2 weeks, my name is David Olaiwola. Keep it locked on Pendulum TV. Bye.